What's a law that is rarely enforced? Speeding. Since the coronavirus broke out and I have to work 20 miles from my house, I've been a bad boy. United States flag code. Any old laws about handling fish suspiciously in the UK? Being without socks, shoes within a certain distance of the Queen. Jaywalking. Pubs in Australia are legally required to provide somewhere to hitch and water your horse. They don't. Marijuana is illegal. My city has a law that makes wearing high heels illegal, and I only found out about from a TV show that went over weird laws. Giving alcohol to an intoxicated person. Practically every country forbids to sell alcohol to someone already drunk, but it's very rarely enforced. It helps barkeepers to tell people they won't be served anymore, though. Edit. Barkeepers, not barkeepers. Separating abused children from their families. It would be mind-blowing to some people how rarely this is actually done. I think when a lot of us think about calling child welfare, we think a nice lady is going to show up, and some mother will be woefully wailing for their child. With social workers so overworked, the amount of kids who slip through the cracks is absolutely staggering, even with the limited, and often protected, statistics on the topic. The idea is that removing children from their families is very traumatic, as if being abused is less traumatic, and the state just doesn't have the resources to rehome all these kids with fosters. So, the parents say, oh, they fell. The kid nods obediently and the cycle continues. Abuse often worsening once social workers get involved. It's just a mess. My dad grew up in the system. It's tough but better than being abused or worse. Edited. Typo. Treason. Source: United States 2016 to 2020. It's illegal to eat a donut while walking backwards in Marion, Ohio. There is a law in Singapore that not flushing a toilet is illegal and incurs a fine of $150. It isn't as enforced as other laws though. Speeding. Sure, it's enforced if you speed at ultra-douche 20 over. But if you go 10 over, no ticket. Jaywalking and, depending on the county, city, town you live in, underage drinking. In Missouri, you can get pulled over for crossing the center line of the road. It's illegal to get drunk in pubs in the UK. Motorists texting or talking on handheld cell phones while driving. Driving too slow. Under California Vehicle Code 26708 Subdivision A2, a person shall not drive a car with any object or material placed, affixed, or installed on the vehicle which obstructs or reduces the driver's clear view through the windshield or side windows, which includes anything ranging from air fresheners to graduation tassels. Camping in the left lane is actually illegal in many states. Police should be ticketing people for it, but they don't. Driving without footwear. How the fuck is this supposed to be enforced? If you are driving with flip-flops and the sandals give piss-poor tactile feedback, you might consider switching to a barefoot to get a better grip on the gas pedal. In the UK, it's illegal to handle a salmon under suspicious circumstances. Littering, though I was astonished when my buddy got a $50 ticket for tossing a cigarette out the window. Trespassing. It's pretty random, but the laws for keeping chickens, depending on your city. Found this out when my family got chickens and we learned you're only allowed a certain amount of chickens and have to pay for a permit, and have to keep them in a coop. A bunch of my friends' families got chickens too. This was a weird trend. IDK, we lived in the suburbs too, and none of them got permits and only a few made coops for them. Unless you got snitchy neighbors. No one really cares. Jaywalking. Never seen it enforced. Even had cops watch me jaywalk a couple times and they didn't do anything. At least where I live, apparently it's illegal to ride a bicycle without a helmet, but honestly no one cares. In my hometown, it's illegal to walk down the sidewalk on a Sunday with an ice cream cone in your back pocket. I honestly just want to know who did this and caused problems enough that it needed to be made illegal. Edit. Apparently the idea is that horses love ice cream and that the ice cream in the back pocket is a way to lure another man's horse away from wherever it is. It's an anti-horse theft measure. Thanks Google. The Logan Act, it's only been used once in 244 years IRC correctly. I live in Michigan. Technically in the state of Michigan it is illegal for a woman to get her hair cut without permission of her husband or father. I don't actually think this law has been enforced in over 100 years, so I'd say it's pretty rare. You technically can't take pictures of the Eiffel Tower at night because the lights on the tower are trademarked or something. But it's not really enforced. Also, I'm pretty sure the US flag code legally cannot be enforced. In South Carolina, when approaching a blind intersection in an automobile, you must discharge a firearm 3 times into the air to warn horse traffic. I remember Kansas and some other states I have lived in had a few interesting laws, to say the least. I remember one was the illegality of hunting whales. In Kansas, it's landlocked and it is not possible to find whales. It's also illegal to hunt rabbits while hanging from the side of a boat. In Manhattan, there was an ordinance wherein so long as a person had a towel and a bar of soap while naked near a body or water or during heavy rain, it was legal to bathe oneself. However, public nudity remained illegal in the city as well, so this loophole was still punishable by law enforcement. Thus why the ordinance then. In Western Australia it is illegal to carry more than 20 kilograms of potatoes. Red headlights apparently. Also the use of light bars pods as a replacement for headlights. In Portugal, peeing in the ocean is illegal. Can't imagine how anyone's gonna enforce that. In Idaho, you can't fish from the back of a giraffe. Here in Texas it's technically illegal to panhandle, ask for money in public. But it's never enforced that I've seen. Up here in Alaska we have a law that states no vehicles other than state troopers and Alaska pipeline vehicles are allowed on the pipeline trails. Nobody enforces this, and the trails are regularly used as a way to get to hunting trails and gold mining operations. So really to enforce said law would be to cut off about half of Alaska's infrastructure. I don't think I've ever heard of someone being charged with removing that tag from their mattress. Eating an orange in your bathtub. It's actually illegal in California to do this, but it's never enforced for conspicuous reasons. This is a law because back then they thought the orange could cause bath oils to catch on fire or something like that. Bootlegging across Canadian provinces. In Denver, it is illegal to lend a vacuum cleaner to your neighbor. Well, illegal to lend a vacuum to a next-door neighbor, but it's perfectly okay to lend a vacuum to a friend down the street. I can't believe there isn't a task force dedicated to putting these people away. Watching movies illegally for free online. They tend to go after the people distributing them, not watching them. There's a few silly laws in my home state for women. Can't cut your hair without husband's permission, can't drive on a Sunday, city-specific, can't have more than 3 women who are unrelated living together, city-specific. Michigan law MCL 750.532, any man who shall seduce and debauch any unmarried woman shall be guilty of a felony, punishable by 5 years in prison and or a fine of $2,500. Also MCL 750.530, any person who shall commit adultery shall be guilty of a felony, and when the crime is committed between a married woman and a man who is unmarried, the man shall be guilty of adultery, and liable to the same punishment. There's a legend in Argentina and some other Latin countries about an animal called lobezon. As the story says, if you have 7 children and the 7th one is a male, all the nights with the full moon, he will transform in himself in like a werewolf. It really looks alike. Okay, so, since the 19th century, if any woman told the president about her 7th child was a male, the president would be his godfather. Also, in 1973, the government created a law, 20.843, which basically says that if your 7th child is a male, the president will give him scholarships for elementary and high school, and he'll be his godfather.